Hi, how's it going? This is Resident of Collinwood for YouTube, back with another Dark Shadows video for you guys and gals, here to continue my Dark Shadows movie character retrospective. It's David Collins, played by David Hennessy. Yes, he played David in the series, as well, David Collins in the series too, and he's going to play David Collins in the movie House of Dark Shadows. Now, is it the same character? No, but let me say this: it became very close to becoming the same character. Let me explain. There's a scene. There's a deleted scene or an extra scene in House of Dark Shadows. A deleted scene, I want to call it, where there's a still photo. I'm sure you guys have seen it on my Facebook page. I'll share it on Twitter too, where there's David uh, in the closet hanging, you know. And this was supposed to be a prank, I guess, on Maggie. Okay. Um, if they would have put that in the movie, then yeah, it'd have been David from the series. There'd have been no going back on that one. it's that's David. That's David's morbid personality to the core in the series, and then some. Um, but no, that's not in the movie. So I take away because there is something that David does. They do take something from the series and use it in the movie. Remember in the series when David Collins locks Victoria in the abandoned West Wing in a room and she sees the ghost of Bill Malloy. Here in the movie, you're going to get David who runs out, runs at Catherine Lee Scott, scaring her and locks her in a room in the old house. And the old house is abandoned. So instead of using the great house Collinwood, they use the old house and use a room in the old house in the movie. And so now, when you see this scene, you'll notice that David Hennessy is smiling. He's pulling a practical joke, which is really cool. Um, and I like it here because this lets you know that David is just your normal average kid who loves pulling pranks, uh, which is cool. Now, does David get a bit morbid in this movie? This is tough because I can't fully call this completely morbid, but I think too he's trying to find a way to deal with Carolyn's death. And he's by himself at the abandoned pool and he's got this ball and he's tossing it back to himself and he's catching it. And he says, if I catch this when Carolyn's not dead, um, I think this is just a way of a boy trying to find his way to cope with his cousin's death. Um, and yeah, it's a bit morbid. You could say he could find better ways for sure. But also, too, this sort of answers another question. Are they taking anything from the series from the David standpoint? And I'm going to say yes. And here's what I think they take most. David himself, when he he goes for the ball in the pool, and he hits his head on the back of a rock, and he passes out. By the time he wakes up, it's nighttime, and he starts hearing his name be called, and the voice is Carolyn's. And so at first he's like curious, and yet you could see sort of like he's scared a bit, but he goes toward it anyway. This lets me know that they do take somewhat from the series that David in the movie most likely believes in ghosts. And again, I'm not saying Carolyn's a ghost in the movie. She's not. To be very clear, Carolyn is not a ghost here. But David doesn't know that, though, either. You know what I mean? David doesn't know what's going on. He just hears his name being called by the voice of Carolyn, and he's going to go investigate it. I do believe, I walk away from this that David believes in ghosts. But here's this woman who's walking toward him, and he says it himself, "You're dead. You're dead. Like you, no, you can't be standing here. You're dead. You've died." And he just runs off, petrified. And this is where you see David Hennessy just own this part. The scene in the kitchen is so breathtaking with Lewis Edmonds and Elizabeth. He says, I saw Carolyn. You tell he's so terrified. David Hennessy's face is just golden in this. I mean, what a performance by this young man. I mean, because look, he's not yet a teenager when this movie's being made. He will be afterwards, but not quite yet. He's getting there though. So he says, I saw her. I saw her. He goes, yeah. Said, believe me, Father. And you see this sort of, this is something like when you go back to the beginning of Dark Shadows, you didn't see between Roger and David, between father and son, but you see a very concerned, I've talked about this with the Roger retrospective, you see a very concerned Roger Collins. Um, and you see a very distraught, um, broken David, if you will. Um, he's very, very upset. Um, he wants people to believe what he saw because he knows what he saw. Um, again, he thought it was the ghost, was Carolyn's ghost, and had it been just a ghost, it'd have been one thing. But this, David knew this was not a ghost. He realized very soon after seeing Carolyn, this was no ghost. This was something that meant me harm. And he even says that I think she meant to hurt me. You know, and he knows that's not what his cousin would have did. She has now become something completely else. She's become a member now. She, he's trying to wrap his head around what she's become too. You can see that in David Hennessy's face. He does a, again, I'm going to say this a lot. He does a great job, and he just does. Um, Again, these aren't going to be long breakdowns, but I'm trying to get the most out of this one because it's not long. Also, too, that it is, again, he's very much a practical joke. By the way, I like how he sneaks back into the house. He's sneaking back into his room, and it's Roger Davis who says, "I caught David sneaking back into his room." Oh shit! Yeah, yeah, you were busted, buddy. Oh my god! But it's so cool, right? Like Roger Davis is Jeff Clark. Oh my god! And why not, right? So somebody, it wasn't David who was playing with that door handle. Oh, Maggie, and we're, by the way, that should lead you to know where I'm going next with my character retrospective, Maggie Evans. A lot more deeper one will come tomorrow. I promise. I don't know what time I'll get that one up, but I really enjoy David Hennessy in the House of Dark Shadows movie. Another scene I love too with him is when Willie Loomis, again, like I said in the first video, you're going to hear me mention other characters in the movie. Um, I love Willie Loomis sort of pushing David away and Maggie being upset about it. Like Willie, like she's shocked by it. And you see David Hennessy just like, what's wrong with you? Like, look, and like, so you could tell, he could tell there's something more going on here between this adult and what he wants to tell her, and he doesn't want me to hear. And maybe, and and I can't, I'll stop it there because if I go any further, I'm going to get into a Willy word just too. Um, but I really, really enjoyed the hell out of David Hennessy's David Collins in House of Dark Shadows. Really, really good. Hope you guys are going to enjoy these retrospectives. Have a happy Halloween, everybody, and stay safe. I'll see you at the live stream tonight at 10:45 p.m. for a little story time.